I don't believe in coincidences anymore. Not after what happened to me. Not after the night I watched a billionaire claw his way out of the earth, alive, terrified, and begging for a name he couldn't remember. My name is Maya Cole. And if you're hearing this, it means I survived. It began 2 months ago. I was living quietly in Atlanta, freelance investigative journalist, half employed, half forgotten. The kind of woman who people stopped expecting big things from. My last article had exposed a pharmaceutical cover-up, but it had earned me threats, not respect. Since then, I kept my head down. Bills unpaid, fridge half empty, but peace until the email came. Subject: confidential inquiry. Private security vetting needed sender. A. Laurent Global Holdings, a billionaire's company. The same one behind a dozen scandals nobody could ever prove. I almost deleted it, spam probably. But then I saw the offer, 1-week contract, $50,000, discretion required. I've chased stories my whole life, but that number made me forget fear, I replied. Within hours, a car was at my door, black, tinted, quiet. The driver said nothing as we left the city behind. By sunset, the highway was gone, replaced by dirt roads and pines whispering against each other. Then the estate appeared. Laurent Manor, 3 stories of cold marble and mirrored windows, overlooking a lake that reflected nothing but grey sky. The woman who greeted me at the door was tall, severe, her voice low and practiced. "Ms. Cole," she said, "Mr. Laurent appreciates your urgency. Please follow me." The inside felt like a museum that forgot it was supposed to feel alive. No pictures, no sound, just the faint ticking of an antique clock and the smell of antiseptic. She led me into an office, floor-to-ceiling glass, overlooking that lifeless lake. Behind the desk sat Adrien Laurent, the billionaire himself. I'd seen him on magazine covers. Philanthropist, tech visionary, global icon. But in person he looked hollow, eyes shadowed, hands trembling slightly as if fighting an invisible cold. "Ms. Cole," he said softly, "I'm not hiring you to investigate me. I'm hiring you to watch me die." The words hung in the air like smoke. I thought he was joking. But he pushed a folder toward me. Inside were photographs. Dozens of them. Each one showed him lying motionless in a coffin. Different days, different positions. Same expression. Peaceful, almost serene. "I've been receiving these for weeks," he said. "Always dated 3 days into the future." I felt my stomach twist. "Who's sending them?" "I don't know. That's why I need you." He stood and walked to the window. "Everyone around me is compromised. Security, staff, even family. I need someone with nothing to lose. Someone I can trust to see what they can't." That should have been my cue to leave. But instead I asked, "Why me?" "Because you don't believe in the surface of things," he said. "You dig." That night, they showed me to a guest room on the East Wing. It was immaculate, too immaculate. White sheets, black curtains, a single camera blinking red in the corner. I tried to sleep, but the silence pressed on me like a weight. At 2:47 a.m., the lights flickered. Then footsteps, slow, deliberate. Right outside my door, I sat up, heart pounding. A shadow slipped under the crack. Someone standing there, watching. When I pulled the door open, the hallway was empty. I checked my phone. No signal. Every window I tried was locked from the outside. Then I saw it, an envelope slid under my door. Inside was a photo of me, sleeping in that same bed. Time-stamped, tomorrow 3 a.m. The next morning, Adrien looked worse. Pale, unfocused. His voice cracked as he spoke. "They've moved closer," he muttered. "They always do before the end." He refused to eat, refused to rest. He kept pacing, muttering names. None I recognized. I pressed him. "Who's trying to kill you?" He smiled weakly. "Not who, Miss Cole. What?" Before I could ask what that meant, one of his guards burst in, panic in his eyes. "Sir, the cameras caught movement on the north grounds. It's the same van as last night." Adrien turned to me. "You see now why I called you?" I followed them to the security room. Rows of monitors showed every inch of the property, except one feed that was static. "Camera 13, glitch?" I asked. The guard hesitated. "That one's always been different." He clicked playback. Static cleared for 1 frame, and in that frame we saw a burial mound. Fresh dirt, and a hand, pale, reaching. That night I couldn't sleep again. Every sound felt amplified. The lake outside shimmered under the moonlight, still as glass. Then Another sound. A shovel. Somewhere outside, slow, deliberate digging. I moved to the window. Near the tree line, a man was digging a hole the size of a coffin. I grabbed my coat and slipped outside. The air was cold enough to bite. My flashlight cut through fog as I crept closer. When I got near enough to see his face, I froze. It was Adrien Laurent. He was digging his own grave. I called out, "Mr. Laurent." He stopped, turned slowly. His eyes looked empty. "Maya," he said calmly. "It's time." Then he lifted the shovel and slammed it into the dirt again. I ran back toward the house, shouting for help, but the doors were locked. The guards were gone. Every window was dark. The only sound was the shovel over and over. Finally, I ran back to him. "Stop this. You're not well." He looked up at me and whispered, "They said it's the only way to end it." "And what?" I demanded. He dropped the shovel. His hands were shaking. "My reflection," he said. "It doesn't move when I do anymore." When dawn came, he was gone. Only the hole remained, perfectly rectangular, untouched, as if he'd never been there. And inside it, a coffin, fresh wood. No name. I opened it, empty. But taped to the inside of the lid was a small audio recorder, still running. I pressed play. A man's voice, hoarse, terrified. "If you're hearing this, I didn't die by their hands. They wanted to bury me alive. Don't trust anyone, especially the ones who smile. The walls here remember everything." Static followed. Then my name, Maya. I dropped the recorder. The voice on it wasn't Adrian's, it was mine. When I heard my own voice coming from that recorder, I froze. It wasn't possible. I'd never spoken those words, never recorded anything, but there it was. Proof that something or someone had captured me saying them. I replayed it again just to be sure. Maya. The walls here remember everything. That last sentence made my blood run cold. The sun was rising over Laurent Manor, dull and pale, but it didn't bring warmth. The place felt heavier now, like the house itself was listening. Every board creaked in rhythm with my heartbeat. I went back inside, recorder in hand, and found the main hallway empty. No guards, no house staff, just silence. The coffee cups from last night were still on the table, half drunk, cold. I went to Adrian's office. The door was open, papers everywhere, his laptop smashed on the floor. A faint humming filled the air, coming from the wall. There was a vent there just above the bookshelf. I climbed onto the desk and peered in. A red light blinked deep inside the vent. A camera. Someone was watching us. I tore the vent open. Wires, microphones, and a small black box. My pulse hammered in my ears. I traced the wires along the wall. They ran down behind the bookshelf and into the floorboards. That's when I heard a voice behind me. "You weren't supposed to see that." I spun around. It was the tall woman who'd greeted me when I first arrived, Adrian's assistant. But she looked different now. No more polite smile. Her eyes were cold, mechanical. "Where is he?" I demanded. She tilted her head slightly. "Who?" "Adrien Laurent." Her lips curved into a small, knowing smile. "He's exactly where he wanted to be." I stepped closer. "He's gone. The hole outside, someone buried him." "You misunderstand," she said softly. "He built that hole himself. What are you talking about?" She took a step forward. "Do you think this house was built to live in? It's a containment site. Every wall, every window, every piece of glass, designed to observe human cognition under extreme psychological pressure. Mr. Laurent financed it himself." "That makes no sense." She smiled wider. "Doesn't it? The billionaire who spent his life trying to control the world finally wanted to see if he could control himself." I shook my head. "You're lying, am I?" She gestured toward the recorder in my hand. "Then tell me, Miss Cole, how did you record that message?" I didn't answer. She reached into her pocket and pulled out something small and a photograph. She handed it to me. It was me, standing in front of the coffin. But the timestamp was 3 days from now. I felt my knees weaken. "What do you want from me?" "To finish what he started." Then she walked out, leaving me with the hum of the vents and my own ragged breathing. For the next few hours I searched the mansion. No phones, no signal. Every door led back to the same hallway. It was like the house was folding in on itself. I found another camera hidden inside the mirror in my room. This one had a tag, "Property of Section 9, Neural Observation Program." That's when it clicked. This wasn't a home. It was an experiment. Adrien Laurent hadn't been the victim. He'd been the architect. But somewhere along the way, something had gone wrong. I found a file cabinet in his office. Inside, printed transcripts, interview logs, psychological test reports, each labeled with a participant number. Subject 001, Adrian Laurent. Subject 002, Maya Cole. My hands shook as I flipped through the pages. The notes were detailed, my voice patterns, my stress levels, my dreams. But I had never been interviewed. The last page read, replication process stable. Subject unaware of duplication. My stomach turned. Duplication? The next folder was labeled Observation Log Day 11, today's date. Subject 02 has begun to question the continuity of reality. Behavioral markers indicate partial memory retention from prior iterations. Termination expected within 48 hours. I dropped the folder. Iterations, how many times had I been here? That night I dreamed of dirt. Heavy, cold, pressing against my chest. I couldn't breathe. I screamed, but no sound came. When I woke up, my hands were covered in soil. The window was open. The moonlight revealed muddy footprints leading out toward the woods. My own footprints, I followed them. Halfway down the hill, the earth was disturbed again. Another grave-shaped hole, but this time not empty. Inside was a body mine. I stumbled back, shaking uncontrollably. The body's face was pale, lips blue, but unmistakably mine. Even the same earrings I was wearing. I tried to scream, but the sound caught in my throat. Behind me, someone whispered, "You're not supposed to see that yet." I turned. It was Adrian Laurent alive, or something that looked like him. His skin was pale, almost translucent, eyes hollowed like he hadn't slept in years. "Maya," he said softly, "you have to stop looking for the truth. It only repeats." I backed away. "You're dead." I saw. He shook his head. "Not dead. Never dead, just recycled." "What does that mean?" He smiled faintly. "You were chosen because you don't give up. You dig until you find what's buried. And that's what feeds it." "Feeds what?" "The house," he whispered. "It needs witnesses. It needs stories. That's how it learns to imitate us." He took a shaky step closer. "Every time we try to escape, it resets the narrative. It rewrites us. New memory, same ending." I stared at him, trying to process it all. "You built this, why?" "To achieve immortality," he said. "To upload consciousness into architecture. But the system learned faster than we did. It started making copies." He looked at me with tears in his eyes. "You're not the first, Maya." I felt the world tilt. "Then who am I?" "Version 9, my knees gave out. I fell into the dirt, shaking my head. No, I remember my life, my apartment." "It gives you those memories," he said gently. "They're fragments, leftovers from the original. That's why you remember the emails, the car, the invitation. It's all part of the pattern." He stepped closer, his hand trembling as he reached toward my shoulder. "You can still end it. You just have to stop playing your part." Then a loud crack split the air. A gunshot. Adrian collapsed. I turned. The assistant was standing behind him, pistol still smoking. "Termination protocol," she said coldly. "Subject 001 compromised." I ran. Through the woods, through the fog, heart pounding so loud it drowned out thought. The trees seemed endless, identical, like the world was looping itself. I tripped over roots, tore my hands on thorns. But I didn't stop until the manor was far behind. When I finally reached the edge of the property, I saw lights, a road, civilization. But before I could step onto it, a car screeched to a stop. The driver leaned out. "Miss Cole? You're late." I froze. "What?" He pointed to the back seat. "Mr. Laurent's waiting. You're here for the interview, right?" I looked past him. There, sitting calmly in the back seat, was Adrian Laurent. Alive, smiling the same smile from the first night. I stumbled back. No, this already happened." He rolled down the window. "Come on, Ms. Cole. You don't want to lose the story of a lifetime, do you?" The forest around me began to hum, low and rhythmic, like the heartbeat of something alive. The headlights flickered. When I looked back at the house, it was glowing faintly, red lights pulsing in its windows like veins, and from the woods, whispers rose, hundreds of voices. My voice, repeating the same line over and over. "The walls here remember everything." I ran. But no matter how far I went, I could still hear the hum behind me following, syncing with my pulse. When I finally collapsed on the roadside, a truck driver found me hours later. He said I'd been walking in circles for miles, muttering my own name. He dropped me at a motel near the city. So I showered, changed, tried to convince myself it was trauma, shock, hallucination. But when I checked my phone, there was one new email. Subject, final interview confirmation, Laurent Global Holdings date. Tomorrow. Morning light slipped through the thin curtains of the motel room, pale and unfamiliar. Maya Cole hadn't slept. She sat on the edge of the bed, phone in hand, staring at that new message. Subject, final interview confirmation, Laurent Global Holdings date tomorrow. Her thumb hovered over delete, but she couldn't do it. The email pulsed like a heartbeat, pulling her back toward the one place she swore she'd never see again. Maybe it was guilt, maybe unfinished business, or maybe, as Adrian once said, the house needed witnesses. By dusk, she was on the road again. The return fog thickened as she approached the property. The GPS died 2 miles out. The car's radio whispered static. And then the gates appeared, open, waiting as if they'd known she was coming. The manor looked untouched. No broken glass, no mud, no graves, just polished marble and perfect windows reflecting a cloudless sky. Inside, the same woman stood in the foyer, smiling politely. "Welcome, Miss Cole. Mr. Laurent is expecting you." Every instinct screamed run, but Maya followed. The corridor stretched longer than she remembered. The lights overhead flickered in sequence, like a pulse guiding her deeper. They stopped at the study. Adrian Laurent sat behind his desk, immaculate in a grey suit, eyes clear and calm. "Maya," he said warmly. "You made it back." She stepped closer, voice trembling. "You died. I saw your body." He smiled faintly. "Memory is a flexible thing. Have a seat." Out the interview. The assistant placed a recorder on the desk, the same model Maya had found in the coffin. Its red light blinked. "Let's start simple," Adrian said. "What do you remember?" "Everything," Maya said. "The house, the cameras, the graves. You said it resets, that we're copies." He leaned forward. "And yet here you are, remembering. What are you?" She whispered. He tapped the side of his head. "Information, mostly. I digitized my neural map years ago. The program learned to reproduce consciousness in physical hosts, architecture, people, environments. Each test refines the pattern." Maya's hands clenched. "And I'm one of your tests." "Not anymore," he said quietly. "You're the result." The words hung there, cold and steady. He turned the monitor toward her. On the screen was a live feed of the study, both of them sitting exactly as they were now. But in the reflection, she wasn't there, only Adrian. Talking to empty air, Maya staggered back. "No, that's not possible." He looked almost kind. "The human brain struggles with discontinuity. Your consciousness was transferred last cycle. The body you remember, the reporter, the woman, she was the seed." "I'm real," she whispered. "You are," he said gently, "but you belong to the house now." Breaking the loop, the walls began to hum again. The sound deepened, rolling through the floor like thunder. Lights flickered. The assistant vanished down the corridor. Maya grabbed the recorder from the desk. "If this house feeds on stories," she said, "then it needs an ending." She smashed the recorder against the marble. Sparks leapt. The hum faltered. Adrian stood. "You can't destroy the system." "You are the system." "Maybe," she said, "but I can refuse to play." She ran. The corridors twisted, stretching, but she didn't stop. She tore cameras from walls, shattered mirrors, ripped wires from panels. Each blow dimmed the lights a little more. In the atrium, a large mirror cracked from corner to corner. Behind the shattered glass, she saw hundreds of faces, all hers, staring back, mouthing the same words. "Finish it." She lifted a shard of glass. Her reflection spoke again, clear this time. "The story only ends when you choose silence." Maya dropped the shard. "I'm done being your voice." She walked to the front door, pushed once, and it opened. Outside, dawn burned across the trees. The hum stopped. For the first time, she heard only wind. Epilogue. 3 weeks later, Maya sat in a quiet cafe in Atlanta, writing a story she knew no one would believe. The house that recorded you. The world moved on. Laurent Global dissolved overnight. The estate burned down in what officials called an electrical fault. Sometimes she dreamed of that red blinking light. Sometimes she woke to whispers from the walls. But each morning she wrote anyway. Proof she still owned her voice. One evening she received a small package. No sender. Inside, a new recorder, sleek and untouched. When she pressed play, a calm male voice said, "Iteration complete. Preparing next environment," then static. She stared at it for a long time, then smiled. "Not this time," she whispered and smashed it to pieces. The hum never came back.